Well, let's speak to Malik Nasir, author of Searching for My Slave Roots, who is also a PhD candidate in mercantile hegemony in the latter days of British slavery at the University of Cambridge. Now, we're talking about your degrees there, but I know that this is actually far more personal to you than just a matter of degrees. And I'd like to go into that personal story shortly. But first, I'd love to know more about your personal reaction when you hear that the church is trying to, as it said, heal.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really glad to hear that the Church of England has taken what I would say is the first steps towards reparatory justice. Of course, the initial announcement of £100 million was based upon the investment that the church received that was bequeathed to them by Queen Anne, who started a fund in 1704 called the Queen Anne's Bounty, which was for the development of poor Anglican clergy. Now, the Queen Anne's Bounty invested in slave trading enterprises such as the South Sea Company. So when this was, sort of left, if you like, and bequeathed to the church, the £100 million figure was based on that. That is one single bequeathed entity that the church received. The church received thousands of such bounties. This does not look at the churches that were built by individual slave traders. My own ancestors were enslaved by a company called San Battistini in Liverpool. They built churches in The Hague. There's a church of St. Philip and St. John, two of slave traders who were canonized in The Hague. In my own city of Liverpool, there's the Church of St. Margaret's in Egbert in Liverpool, which they built. There's so many churches that they built, and they had clergy in all branches of their family, and they're just one slave trading family.
Right.
So there's individual churches that have been built and endowed right across the country and, of course, the British Empire. And when you aggregate the income that they received from chattel slavery, you're talking well in excess of what was proposed. But my principal concern with what's happening here in the field of reparations is that there is no arbiter of reparations at the moment. And I've been to Parliament and met with the all-party parliamentary group on African reparations, chaired by Bel Ribeiro Ade. And I've called for the establishment of a reparatory justice council, a quasi-judicial body that could be mandated by the United Nations to hear cases for reparations. Because what we have at the moment is we have these institutions like the church, like perhaps the Crown, now King Charles has said he's going to do something, and other institutions who are making arbitrary donations. Imagine if you were hit in a road traffic accident and you're the victim, and the person who hit you would have the choice to say whether you had a claim.
Well,
if
Malik,
so,
to that point, when you're talking about some sort of oversight of reparations, in your view, I know you've looked into this a lot, what should reparations look like? What should that money be used for?
I think you should have a principle underlying reparations, which is exactly the same as you would for something like insurance, where anyone who has a claim can bring that claim, have it heard, and there would be an enforcement mechanism and a mechanism to determine quantum, the amount of value of the claim. We do this with car accidents. Why can't we do this with reparations? Because at the moment, Barclays Bank were identified, for instance, as having derived a substantial amount of their wealth from enslavement through their past portfolio. And they said, oh, by way of reparations, we're going to do more in way of diversity. So they're going to get black people to come and work for them. And that is considered reparations in their eyes. So reparations is more than that. What this report has been looking at, it's been asking people like myself and others who participated in the questionnaire, what should this kind of money be spent on? And things like education, criminal justice, dismantling structural racism, equality, diversity and inclusion, economic development. There's a whole range of different things. And if you go to each place that was impacted by enslavement, you'll find a different dynamic. CARICOM, for instance, in the Caribbean, have a 10-point plan for reparations, which is based upon the needs of the Caribbean. If you talk to people like Hester Stanford Cozy, who's very much at the forefront of African reparations and Pan-African reparations. She's looking more from the African point of view.
Right.
And where Black people in the diaspora have, different experiences and suffer different things, whether, from George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, the kinds of things that we're suffering here with institutional racism within universities, within the criminal justice system, and many sectors of society. So all of these things need to be dismantled. And to understand how we got to this point, you have to understand the historical backdrop to slavery and colonialism. And that is a story that has not been told. People do not want to look at it. It's very ugly. It's a dark period in Britain's history. And brands are concerned, particularly brands that have old roots, that it will affect their share prices.
Yes.
And families, individual families are concerned that people may, say they want reparations for them. Charles Gladstone has just gone and made a formal apology to the people of Demerara in Guyana for what John Gladstone did.
Malik, I'm sorry we have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your time. And of course, there's so much more that we could discuss, but we really do appreciate your time and your perspective on this.
Thank you so much. My book, Searching for My Slave Roots, will be out later this year.